Good evening, everyone. So first of all, congratulations to each one of you for clearing week one of the Hacktify Cybersecurity Penetration Testing Internship Program. So in week one, we learned about HTML injection and Open Redirect. Hope you all hope you all had a wonderful learning session. Now, we'll be going on to week two. So in week two, we have two categories. Firstly, we have XSS, that is cross-site scripting, and then we have IDOR, which stands for Insecure Direct Object Reference. So, as you all are aware about our internship program, so we follow an approach wherein for the first 5 days, you need to solve the labs which are provided on the labs.hacktify website. You need to solve each one of the labs. We have provided the resources for it as well. We have provided some video lectures for it. And this YouTube live session will cover topics related to week two labs. So we are not going to solve the labs, but I'll just give you all a basic idea how these categories function. So the agenda is simple. For the first 5 days, you need to solve all the labs, and in the next 2 days of that particular week, you need to submit a report and attempt a quiz. So for week one, we haven't included a quiz. For week two, from week two onwards, we are gonna be introducing quiz for you all along with the assignments. The assignment should be in PDF format as mentioned by our moderators on Discord. So if you guys have any queries regarding it, like why is your assignment getting rejected, or what is the specific format, you can just refer to the announcement channel of our Discord. So, I think we are clear with the instructions for the internship program. Again, we have a dedicated email ID, which is internshipsupport@hacktify.org. If you want quick responses, you can approach our moderators on Discord. So we have two moderators as of now. You can ping any one of them, and if you have any queries, you can just ask them. So they'll not give you the steps or the final answer of the labs. The agenda for this internship program is simple. You need to just solve all these labs as per your understanding with the resources and the YouTube live sessions that we will be doing. And then you need to present a report. So the report should be in PDF format because when you go into your professional career, everything should be submitted in a PDF format. So that's why we are following this. Now, let's focus on the first category of this week, that is week two. I'll be sharing my screen and I'll be explaining both these categories. So let me just share my screen. So I hope my screen is visible. Now I have written some things. So let's talk about XSS first. So XSS stands for cross-site scripting. What is it? It is basically a category in OWASP Top 10 2021. It comes under injection category, wherein JavaScript script payloads are used for performing the attacks. So ideally, there are three types of XSS: reflected, stored, and DOM-based XSS. So let's look at reflected XSS first. So for reflected XSS, I'll just go over here. So for reflected accesses, ideally we have a script open and a script close. And between these, we have some alert to basically alert on that particular web page that XSS is performed. So it's a simple payload. You can just try it. We have, I'll be showing a pre-recorded video because basically you can just try it with this particular website. So this is a vulnerable website that we'll be looking at. So you can go to testphp.vulnweb.com. So this is a simple reflected accesses attack. So just observe carefully. We have a username field and a password field. So accesses usually happens wherein a user is allowed to input something. So the input can be is intended to basically input according to the fields, that is username and password. But what happens is sometimes the developers they don't code properly, or proper input sanitization is not performed, wherein the attacker can just go on to the input parameters and inject a payload to perform excesses. So in this case, let's look at the first thing. So firstly, we have logged into the website. The password was test and the username was also test. Now let's go back to the search button. Now just look carefully. When we typed Hacktify, it is printed as it is. So this means that there's a scope of excesses. So now, when we talked about the parameter that the query or the payload that we will be using for this particular excesses attack, that is reflected excesses. So in the input parameter, we'll just paste this particular script, that is script alert one. So now, when you observe carefully, what happens is when this particular thing is being inputted and enter is pressed, you can see a prompt saying it says one. So in the alert section, we have inputted one. You can input anything in double quotes, you can input a string. So the idea is simple. You're sending a payload and it is reflecting back. This is how a reflected accesses functions. So there's another category of in the same reflected accesses, wherein if we change the payload, let's say the script open is there and script close is there. Now between these, an alert message should be there, and instead of one, we can type document.cookie. So what this payload would do, it will just show the cookies present in that particular website, your cookies. So let's just look at the practical. So when we type document.cookie, it says search for Hacktify accesses, and here you can see login equal to test person 2. So this is a cookie, a document cookie for that particular session. So this is how a reflected accesses is performed. Now let's go on to other categories of accesses. We have a stored accesses. So what does a stored accesses do? Basically, there are different websites. Let's say we have facebook.com. So in Facebook, uh, there are comment sections. So if proper input sanitization is not done, let's say an attacker injects a payload in the comment section. So now it is available on the web page. So every time any user who clicks on that, the attack will get executed. So it is being stored at the web page itself. So this is the agenda for stored accesses. Now let's look at DOM based accesses. So DOM stands for document object model. So the idea is simple. Here we have it's a client side attack wherein a client will basically get this attack, or a browser will get it. So this contains two parameters, a source and a sink. Now, what is a source? Let's say you have a particular input field. So the thing which you are inputting is the source. Sink is the output that you are getting. So I hope you are able to understand, you are able to follow. Now, let's just look at DOM-based accesses in with the help of some example. So now let's say you have a website, HTTPS. Let's say we have example.com. Now, or let's say we can take some bank.com. So this way you will be able to understand more clearly what is happening. So in this, while registering, we can have a input field, first name, and a last name. Now, what happens is usually on banking website, everything that you type in lowercase are converted into uppercases. So let's say if less than 10 characters are there, so it will convert into uppercase, capital letter. So what will happen is, let's say if proper input sanitization is not done. So in the first name, instead of writing Rohit, if the attacker finds a way to inject a payload in this particular column, so these are all the input fields. So let's say we'll write Rohit underscore script open, script close. And now between these, we can put an alert message. So let's say the source is this. In this case, uh, we can make this a source. So what happens is when a proper input sanitization is not done, then it will be printed as it is without converting into uppercase. So the same thing can be returned as output. So this is the idea behind DOM-based accesses, which is basically document object model. The object is returned as it is. So I hope you guys understood about accesses, how it functions. We have labs related to accesses. So we have all these three categories. The idea is same. Solve these labs and as per your understanding, just make a report with proper POC, with proper screenshots. Now let's move on to IDOR, which is the second category of week 2. So IDOR, again, it is a vulnerability that is recognized in OWASP Top 10 2021. So I think I just made a mistake over here. This lies in broken access control. Perfect. So this lies in broken access control category. So insecure direct object reference. So this is simple. We are going to just change the parameters which contains ID, GID, GCCID, anything which contains ID parameter. If a if proper sanitization is not done, if proper coding is not done, then user can just manipulate these parameters and they can log into another user. Let's say we have a GET request, and in this we have HTTPS. Again, we'll take bank.com, or yeah, let's take bank.com. So in bank.com, when you log in into your particular profile with your actual credentials, so it will show something like profile.html, and in front of that an ID parameter will be given. Let's say ID equal to 1. So this is your actual profile. Now what attacker will do? Attacker will try to manipulate this parameter. Let's say you are already logged in and the browser says this ID equal to 1. What if we change this ID to ID equal to 2? So if the website is vulnerable to IDOR, you can easily get logged into another user. So this is a horizontal privilege escalation wherein you're on the same level as the user, but you are just manipulating the ID and you are getting logged into another user account. So this is a simple example of IDOR. Now, this can also appear in post request. So let's say we have a post request. Again, same thing. So I'll just copy paste it. Instead of get, I'll just do post. Perfect. So let's say we have this. Now, if we are logged in, sometimes it happens that let's say these are all the headers. Now, when you look at the post request, it will contain something like, let's say, user ID equal to 1, mapping to this particular ID, and email equal to, let's say, user1 at the rate gmail.com. A simple example wherein uh, user ID is there, user equal to 1, and an email parameter is there. Now, what happens is sometimes in the post request, if you are manipulating this, you are not able to log into the system. So, why does this happen? This happens because maybe the developer is smart enough. He gets to know that if a user is changing the parameter in the header itself, it will not get executed. Now, what if we change this? So let's say we change this to 2. Now, what will happen is this email ID automatically gets updated as per the user ID 2. So let's say user ID 2 has the email ID user2 at the rate gmail.com. Now, the attacker can easily manipulate this as well to his email ID. Let's say he'll change this to now he'll get logged into user ID 2. So this parameter will now change to 2. So everything is user 2. Now the attacker can simply change his email ID to user1 at the rate gmail.com in the parameter itself, and then he can just reset the password and he'll get the OTP or the password in his email, that is user1 at the rate gmail.com. So this again is a privilege escalation wherein the user is getting access of another user with his credentials by changing the parameters or changing the object. So this is how a typical IDOR attack or the vulnerability functions. So it's a simple example. We have labs dedicated to it, wherein the same thing is happening, and you can just try manipulating the parameters, see if you are able to go on to other users as well. So I think with this, I've explained briefly how XSS and IDOR functions. You can try it in the labs and check if you are able to implement it or not. The labs are intended for these attacks, so you'll be able to get it. The findings should be included properly in the report. So we are following this criteria wherein if let's say a lab has if a category, let's say XSS has 4 labs, you need to do at least 2 labs. By at least, I mean you can do all the labs, but for passing this week, you need to do 2 labs in XSS. And let's say if IDOR has 2 labs, sorry, 4 labs, you need to do 2 labs. So everything should be compiled in a single PDF file and it should be uploaded in the assignments tab. We'll be giving the assignment links for week 2 in the coming days, that is 28th of July. You'll have time until 31st of July to complete week 2. So in the next few days, just discover and explore all the labs that we have related to XSS and IDOR, and just have the proper screenshot. So let's just focus on the learning. Don't bother our moderators if you are having silly doubts, because we are conducting this from our end and our team is dedicated to replying it. If a query is answered, or if you are having any queries, just go on to the announcements channel and just see whether your query has been previously answered or not. All the instructions related to internship and uh, labs, it is visible on the announcements channel, in the announcements channel. Just go on to that. So with this, I'll conclude this particular session. And now I'll just wish you all best of luck and just focus on the learning, and wishing you all the best for the future. Thank you.